Okay.
All right, I think we're live. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. First item on the agenda here, we have our meeting minutes for March 12th, 2025. Scott, did you have any questions or concerns on there?
Nope, they were lengthy.
Yeah, I will just say, just as a note, I like seeing all the conditions and the things that we've approved. I think it's probably a good idea for the public record that we have.
Yeah,
out
no, I
there.
think it's a really
I
good
think it's
idea.
just a good way to keep the record.
Yeah.
An easier way to find
Yeah,
the record 10 years from now.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
So
So
yeah, thanks for that, but
I'd make a motion to accept the minutes of March 12th.
all second, all in favor?
I was looking around.
All right, our first appointment here, we have Anthony Edwards here to talk to us a little bit about the NERDS money, which is the Natural Resources Damages settlement from the EPA to the state of Colorado. Welcome, Anthony. Yeah.
Thanks. So there's really three things I want to discuss with this, the NERDS, then the CAG appointment. I don't know if we put that directly on there, if it's on the agenda.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And then just remind you, June 26th is the state and federal agencies barbecue type of get together over at Kendall, that would be in 26.
We're not gonna have it in a mine shaft.
Well, we can see what's going on up there, maybe at Chattanooga at that time. I don't know. Anyway, so just,
26.
yeah, June 26th, if you just put that down. We did it last year, really great.
Timing,
Probably, I think we did it from 3 or 4 to 7. There was food and drink
Started
and
at 4.
yeah, is that what time it was? Or let's start it at 4?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
later the better.
Yeah, 4 is probably,
Peak season.
it is. It's also when we can get everybody here. But yeah,
I'd say I'm gonna write down 4 p.m.
that's fine. And I can facilitate that. And then, so just to go back, Ken Ballywag had put before we talk about the NERDs, Ken Ballywag had put an interest, had mentioned his interest. I think, did he give you an email? And
There's an email or two.
okay,
in there.
great. I didn't look at the packet, sorry. I knew what I had given you, but, and he's a geologist from mines, has a house here. He's been involved in, friends with families over the years, including Mary Morris and the Decays and others. And, I think he would be a fine addition, somebody with a mining background. We don't have anybody else, and I think it's 15 I think there's 15 appointees right
Yeah,
now.
no, he's an excellent candidate.
Yeah, and
And he knows water, he knows EPA, he
Yeah.
knows geology, and the whole shoot
and
match.
he told
does he
me,
know Terry?
yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knows Terry, he knows, pretty sure he knows, Larry as well. And, he said that he'd be seeking, local input from everybody. I'd mentioned it before to Pete Meisel, that he might be interested in the past, and Pete had mentioned, I mean, I don't want to speak for Pete, it's how it would be, but he seemed like he thought it would be a great addition. That's been a while, but I don't think anything's changed there.
Does that take a motion or anything like that, Willie, as far as appointing a representative to the CAG?
What is the process for the
The county can appoint whoever they want. It does, how you decide you do that is up to you.
Yeah, we do it as a motion.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we appoint Ken Ballywag as our San Juan County representative to the CAG.
All second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. And then, so this, yeah, I think it'll be it's a pretty diverse group of people, and it'd just be nice to have somebody with that geology and background, and definitely when we're getting ready to go into some of the remedial decisions and weighing in on options. So the real top of the list is the NERDS. I'll just, as you'll recall, we had met with the La Plata County commissioners and down at James Ranch, and kind of the call by both commissioners, the commissioners from each county kind of directed Peter Butler, Ty Churchwell, myself, and others to foster a collective collaborative up and down the river process. We did that, it's been going on, there's been some, I don't wanna. It's been really cordial between everybody, but there's been some push and pull and how much should go here. Originally, if you'll recall that there was even a thought that none could go here because this is a super fund area, but because our county, particularly at the town is outside of the super fund technically, how they said they went ahead and okayed us. So we have been going, the town came on, and started participating in the fall. I had been kind of carrying the torch for both the county and the town's interest. One of the primary interests on the San Juan side was for purchasing property, the Animas River Corridor Plan. And I say purchasing property, purchasing either kind of wetland areas that are adjacent to the river so we can have access, or leasing access. Also the Animas River Corridor, since it's been on the books forever and stretches both county on one side and the town on the other, and the RMPP. And then also MSI was interested in restoring some wetlands in some areas that aren't affected directly. We went back and forth at this point, and I think that La Plata will be with us too. And I know that you had touched base with Marcia before, and just to make sure that we're working together, and they've been supportive. But ours come to, so there's $3.5 million in this funding round. It's a complicated situation. It's one and where the idea is that we would use the match of the RMPP transfer. As part of the match, that would be somewhere between, I'm assuming, $1 and $2 million value, that could be the match for what we're looking for our other projects. And there's other areas that we're looking for the projects, and we have up to 5 years to make that all happen. They wouldn't announce until the fall, or in this winter. So there would be no projects that were actually funded until probably next spring or 2026 is the same as, but what we have right now in those negotiations are $300,000 for wetland restoration with MSI up in the upper watershed here.
Which South Mineral?
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned mill, what mill?
That
Are you talking North?
I don't know if he's talking about
the.
I don't know, and that's from Jake, because we had to cut that back. It was originally 600,000, so that was from MSI. And he actually could even be part of the Lackawanna site, but it's
Yeah, just curious, because it just says mill. There's a
yeah,
bunch.
well, and so what may have happened is the mill might be out of there now. Because we just were cutting this last week.
Sure.
And so I just want to be clear, there might be where it says mill, mineral, look, it's.
Maybe just South Mineral.
Yeah,
Something like that.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the Placer South Mineral. So I do think most of that work was up on Mineral Creek that they were talking about for that amount.
Probably Ben Restoration.
Yeah,
Stuff in Chattanooga.
Yeah,
I think
And-
they were
and-
talking
and
about
Jake
doing
is-
some restoration up County Road 110 a little bit too.
oh, yeah, he was. I don't know if they took that out.
But yeah, just
And,
By the-
moving toward it.
and
By the
I,
Anglo-Saxon or
Yeah.
kind of in that wetland?
further north, like I think kind of
Like right below Silverton Mountain there,
that one. I think,
Yeah,
is one of them,
yeah.
okay.
and what happened, and just to be clear, we were in for lack of a better description, we were in negotiations and trying to get it down to 3.5 so the commissioners in San Juan County could support all of theirs, and I'll talk about theirs in a minute. And we could support all of theirs and they could support ours, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So some of this stuff may be a little cut, and Jake told me to let you know that just to be clear, he's on there. Dana is representing the town at this time, and I've been representing why they've been on spring break, why this has all been going on. So that's why they're not here tonight.
Okay.
So they weren't not coming for any purposeful reason. It was just that they were out, and I told them that I thought that would be acceptable. But, so that's the 300,000, and so when they get back, Scott, I'll talk to Jake and have him.
Okay.
Get with you and maybe give us a little synopsis that I can share with Willie and he can share on with everybody
Yeah,
on that. Then the other is the Silverton area or the Animas River corridor, riparian access and wetland restoration. That's a request for 1.72 million. That is for basically from the Lackawanna down to, I would say,
Like a little.
past the confluence. No, not all the way down there, but if you think about just about the area, when we raft at the early part of the season and we see if we can make it from Rastra down on the rapids and through all the metal, just that area. So that stretch the Animas River corridor would include wetland restoration, trails, and a whole base. And the town hasn't put all of those plans out yet, but they've been working on them. And I think that they'll probably be able to give those or share those soon. Okay. But so that's really the Animas River corridor plan that we've always had. So for trails, bridges, and enhancement along the river corridor.
Yeah, that's great.
And so that's that's the 1.7 that we were asking for on that. And then the last was for easements and property acquisition that the county would have up to $200,000 to do easements for access along the river here, as well as potentially up at I guess behind Jack Clark's and where in that area. So it can be used any area that we can go and we can match money either directly or do another grant program to get easements or purchases of land so we can have access, particularly up from the thought was between not Howardsville, Eureka and Howardsville area, and then in this area here.
so that easement access is for San Juan County and not for the block.
That $200,000 would be for San Juan County.
Okay, right.
And we would ask that the town, if they're wanting stuff directly that's necessary for the Animas River corridor, that they try to use some of their grant money for that first, before they come to ask the county to use their 200,000 allocation for that.
Okay.
Could that 200,000 be used as a match for like a GoCo grant for land purchases?
Or easements, or a combination of both. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, that's the thought there. We were thinking about asking for more, but we felt like the 1.7 for the corridor was not, there could be more money put in.
I mean,
the
could that
corridor.
1.7 actually be used for easements or?
There's, and I'm gonna talk to them when they're back to say that like, we'd like them to put some of that money allocation of the 1.7 into potential easements or land purchases along this
I
corridor
agree.
here, so that we can keep the 200 at the county.
Okay.
But there was so much going back and forth in the last 2 weeks, and then people were going on. People were leaving for spring break, and some of those details have been on. The applications would go in May. The questions to the state have to be in later in April. I think I'll put that in there. I think I had that in there.
Written questions, April 15th.
Yeah.
Response, May 1st, submission, May 31st.
So there's those, that's where the allocations are right now. Are you all comfortable? I mean, you all in the end are who the trustees are gonna listen to. I mean, the commissioners here and the commissioners in La Plata. Are you comfortable with this allocation for us?
Yeah, it's a sizable amount of money, so.
Yeah, I mean, I just, in general, and it's hard because there's two different stretches of this, and we've talked about how difficult it is to, do remediation or, restoration before remediation's been done upstream.
Right.
But obviously our water quality impacts are more significant upstream than they are in town.
Right.
So ideally, in an ideal world, I'd like to see it, more the funding going towards the impacted areas in the watershed and, instead of, in this short area that we have in town here, but I understand that. Hopefully in the next round of funding, we'll
The
see.
second half will be
Yeah.
more for restoration, because hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
And
the
they-
remediation will have been at least started, where we are talking. a government agency that's doing this.
Well.
They've been at it for 8 or 9 years already, so.
And if you recall, we were originally not necessarily gonna be eligible for this first round, and we were able to convince
Yeah.
otherwise,
Sure.
and we were told that the second round would be there for us, but I'm gonna be frank. I don't know that second round is gonna come in the next 5 to 10 years, and there's gonna be a lot of different people in power at that time, and there's nothing that requires them to allocate that 3.5 just for the upper animus. And Willie and I've talked about
Sure.
this, so we're just trying to do what we can.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what's gonna come from La Plata. The Durango Fish Hatchery is looking for 378 for a match to enhance the fish hatchery down in Durango, just so you're not caught off guard when you're
Yep.
asked to
Yeah,
do a.
That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah, and then they have the Animas Valley River bank restoration and stabilization, and that's to stabilize underneath some mining that was done. Rock quarry mining, but it's also for the to help with the ditch companies and stuff down there, and that's where their focus has been, and they have a 4-to-1 match for that, I believe, so,
Okay.
and that's for about $900,000,
Oh, that's
about a
great.
$5 million
Yeah.
project, so. Didn't want to throw you off guard later on that,
That's good.
there's been some
Yeah,
question as to whether that bank stabilization would work, that they've done that in the past, and some of it hasn't been successful, but it seems like everybody knows that, and they're looking at ways to make sure that however they do it.
what they used to do, they just throw a whole parking lot full of cars on the riverbank.
Well, I know where there's one we can give them.
Probably one of mine.
I'm talking about a parking lot full of cars.
No, but that riprap would be the best thing.
Yeah.
State.
Anyway, so that's where we are. We through those discussions, we got it down to 3,498,666. That's underneath the 3.5, and feel pretty comfortable that we'll be able to, it'll be up to you all, but be able to support the La Plata, and that a lot of
These are
people,
good
La Plata
projects.
County will be supporting ours. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of where it is. I think probably get some more details for you all on that 300,000, and then maybe the final cut sheet for each of these projects that are in our county, particularly that Anderson River corridor ones, if you have any questions.
Yeah,
And then
just
I
especially what they can do as far as easements or purchases. I'd
Yeah.
love to see some of that. 200,000 on our part isn't enough, so I'd love to see more spent on the corridor and land purchases. for sure.
inside, and see if they can do that at
Yeah.
1.7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I think that'll be fine. I can let them know that. I can let the town know that they want the town to use their 1.7 and whatever match to focus on what's necessary in that area. And that the county would like to hold that money for other areas that are outside the corridor.
I mean, if that's something that we're looking at here too for the, access easements. How much do our county road access easements and our bridges? Give us as far as access to most of the river, do our bridges going across the river, are they subject to the same, 60-foot from center line easements or?
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. I think what we had more in mind was, say, going up County Road, the Upper River Road, or in that section, having access easements from, if we develop that as a trail, as it is essentially,
Yeah,
having access from that across private property to the river, so.
yeah, where I'm going with that is if we have access easement things, and this is also something that we could potentially use as a match, because our county road bridge crew can do it. Is that we could create a little better river access from our bridges,
Oh, okay. I see
where
you're
people
going.
are historically,
Hmm.
accessing the river there, Howardsville and Eureka in particular. But, or like the drafting station, that we have, we can call that a river
Yeah,
access.
little earthwork that
Yeah.
can be our match, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I mean, you could spend all of it on one big one, or you could try to, I think there's interest, and I can show you how I put it, is just identify where we might want those areas generally, and then prioritize. We probably want to be careful about how much we want to say we prioritize as this is the ideal, and because then you get people who think their property is more valuable than we really have to spend. So
Yeah.
we should do a work session on that. But that's kind of how I have it set up, is that we would prioritize. I think there's some administrative money to prioritize. That could be Willie, or you could get a contractor to do that, prioritize, and then or do an inventory and then prioritize and then go ahead and purchase. So I think there's about 20,000 in there to do that process, and just seeing what you're interested, so we can get a list and everything. But that's where it
Great.
is.
Yeah, these are all good
All right.
projects.
And then I think the two things on my plate right now are to, when everybody's back from spring break, have them just well, at least MSI identify what their 300,000 is going to be for in this round. And then also just clarify with the town that they need to put in their 1.7 some monies that they think are necessary to get easements or purchases for that corridor, versus hoping that they can come after or using the county's 200,000.
I agree.
Yeah.
This is great.
Okay,
All right.
I think we'll be back sometime in April, maybe the end of April, to get the letters. You'll have more in the packet, but it won't be surprising. I'll try to talk to Pete when I see him next, and just let him know what's going on here. And then also there'll probably be somebody from La Plata, or we'll figure out how they if they want me to present theirs, that's fine too, but where they can get it. But probably going to be sending letters out in mid-April. So maybe we do the first meeting in April and see, so we can get really an okay to put the letters out and kind of get those going.
Okay.
Also on the La Plata, they were asking if the La Plata side, particularly on this big stabilization, they are interested in potentially having San Juan County do letters for their other grants that, we're supporting in a comprehensive support of watershed, working together. So that may come too. So not just for this project there, but also for their other requests related to that. Which, yeah, it shouldn't be too much time.
This is a different subject. What kind of feedback are you getting from EPA as far as continued funding of our super fund and cuts to staff, anything like that? Things looking okay?
So I haven't heard about any cuts to staff. This is what happens inside these agencies, is a lot of people have 2 or 3 tasks on their individuals, so maybe they're assigned partly here and partly somewhere else. Here seems okay, because those monies are settlement monies, and they're in a special fund that's allocated and has a legal, it's legally protected for the most part. Willie has had me continue to negotiate on a potential extension of the cooperative agreement, and also some funds for mag chloride. My understanding is that you all are investing in putting road base down and all of that, and that is still on what we're working through right now. I don't want to go into too many details of all that right now, because it's going back and forth. I'm happy we can talk to Dennis, but we may want to talk about, because of those contract negotiations, we may want to go and talk about them separately. But what I can tell you right now is what I'm working on is similar to what we were talking about last fall, and it will either be in or it will not be in by April 15th.
Okay.
I've been working on it most of the day today. So, yeah, if you have questions, you can call me too. I'll let you know, but it's probably going to be pretty down to the wire between now and April 15th, and then I could come talk to you after that. When's the next? Is that the 15th?
April 9th.
April 9th is the next meeting. Okay. Why don't you tentatively put me on that agenda? Well, I'll probably like, maybe that's when we're gonna talk about the letters and stuff, rather than wait all the way to the 23rd.
Yeah, that's fine, I won't be back till that Monday before,
Okay,
so as long as you give me an email, there isn't anything but the. Standard appointments on the agenda right now anyways.
okay. And I probably won't have anything then, although if if I've got it in and we have it in the system and it's being discussed, unfortunately, I can go into more detail then. Yeah,
All right,
okay,
thanks, Anthony.
yep, anything else?
That's all I can think of.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll let Ken know and, probably see you on the 9th. Yeah, I think that's me. Thanks, Willie. Yep.
all right.
Thanks.
Anthony.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
All right, we'll move on to our next appointment here, just a couple minutes ahead of schedule, Steve Rich. From San Juan County Historical Society, please, have a seat, Steve.
We're on TV?
We're on TV.
But nobody's watching.
Get this out of here.
Open other end.
I think I have the same problem. There. Before I sit down, I think I'll just lay these out. I don't know the best way to do it. This is a project that began with something Zeke wanted to do several years ago. And, you know, it's just one thing leads to another and you never really get to that particular project. But anyway, he's got several pieces of equipment, large air compressors. The biggest one is 23 feet long and 10 feet high and 14 feet wide. And so he's been rat-holing these around town for years, and he'd like to get them on display for the public. So we have some ground out behind the museum that he thought would be a good place to put an additional building, and it would be a pole building, pretty much open. Maybe probably the riverside would be sheathed off, but just with various exhibits for the public to just really take a look at, but they're mainly stuff that we don't want to leave out in the weather. But anyway, there's a set of plans here, and I've got a plot plan that shows the property. Scott, you're familiar with it, I think. Yes. Anyway, you probably need to look at it here. It's the drawings of what is here already. So we're proposing this area behind the museum at the end of Reese Street. And we would be on county property because we'll be on the edge of the sidewalk here. And I've got a copy here of the latest FEMA maps and everything for floodplain. And we're totally out of the well, let me turn this around so we can. So this is what we're proposing, to put a building 32 by 40 on a slab. And these are the drawings. They've been digitized, and we've sent off a set to an engineer firm in Durango for engineering on the structures. And we have a signed stamped copy of his work on that. So as far as engineering, we're good to go, and placement, we're good to go. We're not in the floodplain. It still gives us access to where we need to get to the backside here of the property. And we've already got kind of a boneyard out here of large equipment, so this would just kind of tie in. And the basic design would be very similar to what the museum is built like, so that they all match as far as a complex. Let me show you the drawing here. Okay, so what we have here is a foundation drawing with the placement of the rebar and where the posts are supposed to go for support. As you can see here, it's open bay with knee braces. The engineer made a couple modifications to these plans. He was concerned with wind shear on the building. So what he's come up with is we had it figured for 10 by 10 rough sawn posts. He's come up with 4-inch tube steel posts embedded in the concrete. These drawings showed that it was supposed to be just on a saddle on the slab, but embedded in the concrete, it's not gonna go anywhere. And then for the look, we have to dress it up with rough sawn lumber to make it look like a big post. And then the upper level will just be storage area for the museum. There'll be a staircase that's lockable to get up to it. And it's got a dormer, and Zeke wanted the dormer in there because it would match the dormer that exists on the new addition we put in 10 years ago. So basically, that's what we're interested in doing, and we'd like to get the county's blessing. It is county land. So what do you think?
Can I get an opinion before you do that?
Sure.
All right. Two things. During the courthouse renovation many years ago, the men's restroom and the women's restroom were switched. The men's urinal ended up behind the courthouse. I moved it between on the north side of the building and here really this is actually yours. It's the sign. I moved it to the orange north side of the building and I made it into a planter and planted petunias. It was actually a really big hit. Everybody loved it. They got a good laugh out of it. A few years later, Bev Rich asked me to move it to the museum property, and I did. A couple of years ago, the Historical Society somehow decided that the urinal was not tasteful and moved the urinal to the mill site, as I understand it. And that will somehow be lost forever up there. The urinal was never donated to the Historical Society. It's owned by the county, and I'm hoping the commissioners will have it brought back to county property, and I'll start planting petunias there again. I even found yellow petunias.
Well, it's not up at the mill. They're in the back yard, in the lumber yard behind the museum.
I never found them, but anyway, I don't know the little one. Never knew where that came from. But I'm hoping you'll have the other one returned back to the county property and I can plant it again, or if you want to do something else with it, but it is yours. And the second subject is the only historical building on the county property that's leased to the Historical Society's jail. The courthouse and the jail used to look quite stately without the overly dense buildings. The Historical Society has filled the parking area with old mining vehicles, a lot of used building materials, and a very large pile of excavated soil. It looks like a disaster zone. Last spring, I picked up trash and stacked some of their junk together to clean it up for an early summer season of parking, starting with the Iron Horse bicycle race. The Historical Society should be required to contain everything on the leased property and not in the public right-of-way. There is a request to put another building back there. The new building will probably require an entrance from Reese Street. This will reduce parking forever. Make certain the building is set back a few feet from the sidewalk, and if you do allow this building, demand that they are not allowed any no parking signs on Reese Street. The upper end of Reese Street has traditionally been parking for Memorial Park. It was a beautiful parking area. The entrance was very inviting for locals and tourists. Last fall, I made a Memorial Park sign and donated it to the town, and it's been placed on the Reese Street entrance to the park. The density of buildings on the leased county property looks like a disaster zone. It's not planned tasteful development. You can have Pete's copy.
We're not even in Reese Street with that building, are we?
No, and actually, according to the information I've been able to dig up from members of the planning commission, Reese Street ends at the turn. The area that you're considering parking is city property, but it was never dedicated as a street. So it's just public land. So anybody that's been parking on it's just been by gratis. You know, it's not a parking lot It is not a city street.
I would bet that it is
Okay,
a
so-
city right of way street. If it's not a developed street, that's different, but
Well,
usually most developed
according to
streets
Fritz, who's
and
been on the
flats
planning
go
commission for
through
years,
rivers.
it was never dedicated as a street.
And how would you know?
How would you know?
I mean, seriously, did you look at a plat map?
Let's look at it. Do we have a plat map?
I don't.
Well, regardless, it has nothing to do with this proposal, because this proposal is not.
This
any-
proposal isn't in Reed Street.
It is not in
They
that.
can, they can still park in Reed
It
Street.
is. Towards the museum side of the sidewalk, which is the boundary of the county property. So
Right,
we are totally on county property. And the building would help to clean up lumber piles, things like that.
Are we, doesn't the museum, lease that property from the county also, as
yeah.
far as I know? You said we didn't.
No, I
You said the
said,
jail did, but that was it.
I said the jail's the only historic building.
Okay,
The only lease I can find to the historical society, which I don't think is accurate, is the one they did in the seventies. Cause I thought that Alan Osmond did one when they were adding the building over there for the archives. And he gave the county a $1 bill for a 100-year lease. I was in the meeting, I don't know,
99-year lease.
99 years. I don't know what year that was, cause I couldn't find it reported. But regardless of what the county owns and they lease, they don't have any right to put anything on public property and stack it there for years.
what are you talking about, buildings or lumber, or what are you talking about?
Lumber, gravel, there's a bunch of excavation dirt that I was told that Steve wanted to put over there. If that's not accurate, then the builder needs to get it out of there.
Well, it is planned for use for this building as fill.
Okay,
To save money for the society, because we wouldn't have to buy the fill. And so it's a temporary thing, just like the lumber piles. Our intent is to clean that up and make it safe and aesthetically pleasing for the people who come to view the artifacts.
that would be interesting and new.
So if you're able to build this building, a lot of the kind of the artifacts and the things that are sitting outside would be housed in this building?
Yes. And
No, the,
Like what will go in?
the artifacts
nothing
that
on
are,
the
that are
sidewalk.
there now are on the other, are on this side of the sidewalk. We're talking about a whole nother building with new artifacts, big compressors.
some of what we have out.
Okay, I didn't know that, but there, some of our biggest equipment could be, we have a cement mixer we could put there, that may go somewhere else. But it's just a way to get bigger items that we have in storage right now on display. It's a great use for the land. I will say, this is one of the best mining museums in the country. I've been to mining museums all over the world. It's one of the biggest attractions in Silverton besides the train. For some reason, you have been against this, as far as I know, you have been against this. You've always been against this mining museum. You've never liked it. You've always fought us on it. This is one of the biggest attractions in Silverton. People come from all over. We're nationally known. You're gonna have some stuff out there. You're gonna have 20-ton locomotives, you're gonna have 10-ton ore cars, you're gonna have mucking machines. You can't store that in the museum. They weigh too much. You don't want to put that stuff in there. So there is gonna be what some people consider to be junk, but they're mining artifacts. And those needed to be displayed on that side of the museum. And now where we plan on putting that building there, I think they should be displayed there. It's a great use for the property. It's not just a hodgepodge of buildings. People love wandering through all that. I don't care what you say, Melody. It's a great attraction. That's people are coming here from all over to see that. It's an educational tool for not only adults, but for schools. You see people, even when it's closed, there's people wandering those grounds. They're interested in that. That's our heritage. That's why this town is here, and it needs to be built.
Scott, let me say something so that everybody's clear on it. I never opposed the building going over there. I just didn't like it. I never vocally said anything about it. I thought that it was too large for the spot. And, then we keep creeping into everybody else's property. And-
Whose property?
The towns, you block the
We're-
sidewalk
we're-
when you park on it.
We're not on the, town property, that's county property right there.
Well, you're out in the Reese Street runway.
We have the right to park there, it's it's
No,
on
no,
the
no,
side of
I'm
the sidewalk.
talking about shit.
Like what?
There's, let's see, there's metal, there's wood, there's,
I don't see a sidewalk going out there, that's just vacant land right there right now. The county never even extended the sidewalk that far, I'd love to see. them.
that's because there used to be a road there. Don't you remember they used to drive right past the museum? I came to the commissioners with Bev to get that road closed so they could put the archives in.
Okay,
So there was never anything back there because you drove right around that side of the jail and then on.
yeah, is that was that a platted road?
No,
No, so that's moot.
no, what I'm saying is, that's why nothing was ever there, because people drove there. They also drove across the corner of, Wilma People's property, which he ultimately sold, and Lisa, what's her face, owns the house on that now. They used to drive right through that. They made a cut up. So I came to this meeting to ask the commissioners, when Bev came to ask commissioners to block off that illegal road, I came to ask for it as well. I wanted the archives to go there.
It's a great location for
It really is.
it. And a mining museum is gonna have some junk. You have to have some timber, you have to
Put it
have rail.
inside. They didn't relate it, put it all in.
Have you been inside the museum?
Anytime you'd like to come down and help, we'd appreciate
I
it.
have no desire to help. My family were dirt farmers from western Kansas.
Well, that's,
I think we're getting
Getting
pretty
off the
far
subject.
off the subject here.
sorry, I just
I
don't, never mind.
I will say just that, I did have a request from our county road and bridge director. That if new building was gonna go there, that we talk a little bit about snow removal. And what your desires were for snow removal.
Where they're currently plowing the Reese Street at the end and plowing the snow, will not be impacted by this job.
Okay, what the town plows and what the county has to plow around the courthouse are different. And
I can show you. the nearest crossing.
this back area is a sore spot.
Yeah, this is the county road, but this is-
Here's the deal.
So you have to
We
maintain.
have there's a shot from the water main in the pit at the end of Reese Street, which is right here.
Alright,
Here's our border of the sidewalk, which has never been extended. We are beyond that point. We are out of the way of all of these things, including the power pole, things like that. So when they plow, they just push up in here. Right now, that pile of dirt is kind of in the way, but they just moved a little bit.
They still
forward.
have plenty of room to do their plowing,
There's-
that doesn't change
There's
anything.
probably 100 feet. From the terminal.
don't shoot the messenger here. I'm just,
Yeah.
our county road and bridge department is responsible for removing the snow from the sidewalk. Removing the snow from the parking lot.
However,
From
it-
over behind the courthouse.
The courthouse
then-
gets done, but the sidewalk has never been done in 14 years I've been here.
Because there's no room to move the snow.
Right. So the snow is all pushed up to here.
That and
And it's gonna go right beside this building. We were careful to not
This,
obstruct any of the access to the bridge and the trailer.
this sidewalk's in such poor shape from
It needs to be
here on,
replaced.
that you can't.
It's
plow.
150 feet that needs to be replaced.
Yeah,
County, replace your sidewalk.
we probably should budget that. in the
Yeah,
future.
no, I think it's a great
It's a
idea.
hazard,
Yeah, sure.
so.
But if we're gonna replace our sidewalk here too, we'll probably need about 15 feet, not 5, to replace it. As well, and is there things parked within a 10-foot area of that sidewalk?
No,
Well, they're over here.
no, they're here.
Well, we got the electric motor right in here.
Yeah, but that's movable. We could put that in another spot.
Okay, And I don't know that the road and bridge director understood exactly where this new building was gonna go. I think he thought it was gonna be more like here.
Yeah, well,
So I
can't
think
do it here.
it was just a request that,
We've got the meter
that you
base
guys
and all
discuss
of
snow
that here.
removal if it was gonna be close to the
No, it's-
areas that are impacted by
They're
this.
currently just pushing it here and leaving it.
The
And
town does.
Yes. And this part here,
Different people.
this area here never gets plowed.
They'd never.
We've plowed it so we could have access to the loading dock at the back end of the museum here, but this is just a little snowfield.
I think Rusty's biggest problem is the parking area in here.
I mean, but he has to move that snow somewhere.
Yeah.
So that
No.
snow has to go, you know, somewhere
No,
too.
no,
and
but
he's-
then,
Well,
that's why I say
yeah.
this is.
Currently, this area, when Dave was doing the plowing, he would just push it into here.
Yes,
Well,
yeah.
and the whole thing just gets congested and there's
Yeah,
some
well,
concerns for
but that doesn't
seats
have
that fell in the
anything-
snowbank there.
That
and
really doesn't have anything to do with this not being,
I-
as it's not in the way.
I just,
Just what is in the way is all of the dirt that was, or the excavated soil.
It's.
And the wood.
it's-
Melody, I think we're
It's
past
temporary.
public comments. Sorry,
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh,
It was just something that came across that if this,
Yeah,
if
sure.
it was requested to come across that. It was just discussed that if there was gonna be extra snow removal requirements that, that it
Well,
was discussed with the road and bridge department.
You know, they
who are
usually have-
responsible for removing snow around the courthouse.
It
That's
usually
it.
has a berm from plowed snow, goes up here and then all of the plowed.
Are you
snow-
gonna require winter access for this building?
No,
Alright,
It's gonna be like everything else, like where all the stuff is right here, that's, if they wanna try to get in there, look at it, fine, it's just,
Yeah.
we're not.
but usually the berm that's from the snow plowing on the street eliminates anybody from getting in there because it gets 4 or 5 feet tall.
yeah,
So, no,
I-
but this is not in the way of any of that.
Yeah, and none of,
Okay.
I mean, from here on, which is where, all those rocks are and the locomotives, I mean, I'd love to see the sidewalk extended and right there so the public can walk clear back to here, someday, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we definitely need to be thinking about this stretch, this is a liability,
Well,
and we can't plow it.
They had to change the valve here and they tore up the sidewalk a number of years ago and it's a real trip hazard.
I mean, we should just plan in the future that we may have to plow that.
Well, it's
If,
a-
if it gets.
you've got
yeah,
to, you've got to
that's
consider
just-
that it's a
thinking in the
liability
future.
to
Yeah.
the county.
Yeah. And it's, it's ultimately, if I were a member of the town board, I'd like to see, that big bank of snow that gets piled up there. I'd rather see it get removed and have a nice, winter access to the trail that comes through there, because
Well,
it's not a great access to Memorial Park
they
in the winter time,
generally
and it's a
do.
really nice groomed trail system, but
But
that's.
currently now, there's a series of, I guess they're
Trailers.
snowmobile
Yeah,
trailers.
Yeah,
That's-
another sore spot for the snow
Yeah.
removal for both
But,
parties.
yeah,
not-
people like
it's-
me bitch
like I'm
bitch
saying,
about
it's not
the pile of
just-
lumber that's neatly stacked, but.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
not a-
Shelter trailers parked all over.
it's
the place.
not just, it's not just one party, it's just kind of a congested.
Yeah,
And some of this stuff.
Area down there, and it's
That's,
just, yeah,
that is considered to be junk, where we keep our timber or things like that, that's probably gonna go up in storage.
Yeah.
At least some of
I
it.
mean.
Not that I'm.
It'd be
I-
great if you could
not the
keep it
big
under
stuff,
cover,
and
but
some
yeah.
of the lumber will probably be used to sheathe the back end of the building. We have a lot of
Yeah.
lombard material in there.
Mhm.
So a lot of it will disappear and the heavy equipment will disappear also. So, we like to keep a clean site
Sure,
and I think we have done that. And this isn't gonna be any different. It's just gonna protect some of the stuff we don't want exposed to the weather.
That's
Yeah.
some cool stuff, big compressors, the big hoist. It's one of the compressors that was on main line of Sunnyside, 2 miles underground. It's the big main hoist.
I don't
that was
know.
at the base of Washington Shack.
Down here.
I'm not quite sure how.
Maybe the school.
I'd love to get that hoist in there because it's a monster. It's
Well,
huge.
the school maybe, but all of the infrastructure to hang the school,
Oh, no.
that's down at the engine house, we'll never get to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is a project obviously that Zeke wanted to do. He was instrumental in laying out the design for the museum. And, we didn't really question what he had in mind as far as what he wanted to put on the exhibit.
And it's gonna fit, it's not like we're putting up a Quonset out there or something
No,
like that.
the building was
The building to match.
designed to house this and
No,
a couple other uses.
I have no problem with the building going where it wants to go and whatnot, just a couple of the things that were brought to my attention that we should discuss as we do it, and you know, we didn't have any site to discuss where exactly it was going or what was gonna be housed under it.
Steve, you said you got that digitized now,
I do,
could you email me a copy of that?
we'll do that. Yeah, I don't know how to do it. Casey takes care of it. Did you get a copy?
We do have, we have engineered drawings with an
Yeah.
engineer's design and okay for snow load and wind shear, so.
Yeah.
And you don't have that yet, though, he's not done with that, right?
Yeah, he's got a
Oh,
copy.
you do have that, oh, good,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, Bevan, if you got them, if you could get them to me, then I can get them to Rusty and.
Yeah, I'm caught in the middle. I always do my plans like this, and now they're all little, you know?
So.
And I'm still living in the analog world, so, so anyway, that's our proposal.
I do have a question for you, Billy. Are we gonna vote, are we voting on this, or just as a consensus? If we vote on it, I should recuse myself since I'm very passionate about this
But then you
project,
don't have a
obviously.
forum.
But we don't have a forum on it. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say that just complicates it, that we may have to.
Then we'd
vote on
have to
next
do
meeting
it the
because we
next
don't have a-
one, so.
And we do have funding in place, so it's not something that once we start, it'll stop, it'll just go till completion, and, at this point, Jim Weller has got a set of the plans, he's expressed an interest in doing the job, and we've used him before, he's a really
Jim's
good
going to put
contractor.
our new addition on the
So,
back.
that was gonna be my question, what's your time frame looking like?
Well, we'd like to break ground this spring and get going on it, and, if Jim gets on it, then, they usually get things up pretty quick.
One other question for the roof material, is the roof material gonna be galvanized or is it gonna be
No,
rusted?
well, it's gonna be metal that rusts.
It's the
Okay.
same stuff that's on
Same-
the big museum.
It'll
building.
match
It
almost
just-
exactly
Okay.
the look of the
It
museum,
just
stain
rusts.
wise, board
And
and back.
it'll shed snow as well
Yeah.
as we can shed snow.
I think it'll be fine, just with the railroad, pole barn that was built down on that site. That was something that came up at some of the town meetings, that reflective material was quite visible, especially from the highway.
Yeah,
Not that this will be as visible there, but if there's.
Oh, this won't be
Way
visible. I didn't realize, they had put a reflective material on that.
well, it's new painted roof down there, and
It's,
we're gonna
it's,
have
it's not.
natural that'll rust.
It was like shiny galvanized before.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it
It's
looks like now.
still shiny.
Yeah, it's still shiny.
Uh,
Just something that was brought
I
up
wish I'd-
before. I don't think it'll
I
be.
wish I'd put my 2 cents
Yeah.
worth in on that one, Austin. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that's what they're doing.
I don't think anybody realized until it
Well,
was.
they made it
you
look old architecturally, but they didn't use, like we do at the museum, materials that are in keeping with the original design.
Which is strange, because we have a roof like that on the Silverton Northern Engine House, a rusty roof, right? Don't we have a rusty roof on that?
No, it's a painted roof.
It is. Yeah, sure so.
Well, painted will slide snow quickly,
Oh, I got you.
but a galvanized will slide not as quickly.
That was great. We have those
Yeah,
problems on the
yeah.
museum over there where it gets.
Well, the
pretty thick.
pitch on this roof is 10 by 10, 12, so it's almost a 45-degree angle,
Yeah.
so. It's
Just-
doubtful there it'll.
Just a comment to bring up. Yeah, you guys have it in hand and you guys know the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well.
it'll
this is-
match, it's,
It's not our first rodeo.
I think it'll be fine.
it'll match the museum's roof.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and within a year or so after it cures a little bit, you won't be able to tell that it's a new structure.
Yeah. Do we need to have a vote?
What we'll do is we'll just, table it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Shoot, do we want to?
Okay, well, what does that mean to me?
April 9th.
Well, does that,
We just.
I want to submit the building permit application and stuff like that. Do I have to wait?
I think you can proceed with the application, the review, Bevan probably won't issue it until the commissioners have actually made a
Okay.
determination, but he could start to.
Okay, and from where the actual site, from what I understand, is no longer in the historic district. And, you know, you're not able to really see it from Reed Street, which is one of the criterion. So I don't know if I need to go through the design review process or not.
That was gonna be a question.
That's a question for the town's building
What
department.
issues are there any issues that the town has to deal with this project?
I'll discuss it with planning, Lucy, and verify. I don't think so, but
Yeah, well, regardless, if we got permission to proceed, even if we still had to go through design review. They're not concerned with the foundation of the building, they're concerned with the look of the building. And so
Correct.
we can get it ironed out and still get the concrete poured.
Yeah.
You know, we've been trying to get this done for several years and Zeke wanted to draw the plans and he kept telling me he was gonna, and I set up a drafting area up in the museum for him to do it. And, you know, that last year, he had to spend so much time taking care of his wife. Couldn't be there as much as he wanted to, so he never got to doing the drawings, but we had put our heads together numerous times about how it should look and what we wanted to put in it. And so I just went ahead and drew up the plans so that we could get this process going.
Sure.
And we do have funding, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
just,
don't think-
we're one short of your vote tonight,
Yeah.
since Scott can't vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one night.
Yeah,
Two commissioners and I think so.
yeah, all right.
And I don't know if you need a set of plans, but I've got a copy that have been digitized, but these are just copies of these drawings. I don't know if you need them.
I think Willie just wants the digital.
I think if you give me the digital.
Okay.
That'll get you.
Sounds good.
We can do it with that.
And I've heard about the petunias a number of times. Do we
And
have a motion to donate the urinals to Melody so that she can?
I'd love her to take them home.
Okay.
We had somebody else that wanted them, but you know, she raised so much hell about it that we decided, well, we're just gonna let them sit there and see what happens, and that was 2 years ago.
I don't,
What are we doing with them then? I mean,
They're,
are they going back to where they were or?
no, I'm not gonna put them back.
Okay,
You know, if you wanna hire somebody else to put them back, fine, but I'm not gonna be responsible. Zeke and I talked about it. We both agreed that the museum has outgrown the tackiness now. We're a sophisticated museum, and that was a little tacky.
we could discuss alternative things, but if we,
But I'm not gonna put them in, so you can get somebody else to do that.
yeah, we could donate them to,
You can give them back to
Melody,
her,
put them at,
put them at her house.
put them at Potty Park.
oh yeah, that'd be a great spot for them, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'll bring them over.
We'll discuss with the town before we
Just
start
have to see what
dropping
Gary Eck has
stuff
to
over
say.
there.
Just
make a fountain out of it.
Yeah, we could make a fountain out of them, the water itself.
little statue, they have a couple of statues like that and
But I mean, they were just, you know, old porcelain sitting on the ground with, you know, cast iron, they were all rusty on the bottom. And, you know, and I just thought, museums go, it's classier than that.
Well, I think too, the petunias themselves went away, and so,
Well, no, they just went into a different planter.
yeah,
You know, in fact, we've got a couple of tram buckets that have totally lost it. They've rusted apart and it's just gonna be a pile of dirt. We're gonna, I already told Patty, cause she plants flowers in them, that, you know, they're going this spring. And we'll make you some nice wooden ones or something, but you can't have any more tram buckets. We can't, we're in the preservation business here.
Yeah, that'll ruin it. It is ruined. Yep. Okay,
all right.
All right,
right,
thank you guys.
yep.
All right, we're somehow still on time for our next appointment.
That was good.
Wait, well, good
We
evening.
talked about the most interesting things, don't we?
Yeah, you see it all. So I have exciting updates for the townhomes in Anvil. We received our full requested amount of $616,000 from the state, which is really exciting. And we are almost ready to go, with the exception that we're waiting on one more grant. And we'll find out about that in
That's
next
the
month.
Colorado Health Foundation.
Yep.
Okay.
They said we'll find out anywhere between April 7th and the 22nd, so. Once we receive that grant, we'll be fully funded and ready to go. In the meantime, still tight on funding as far as pre-development costs go. But we just have sort of one last chunk of pre-development costs, and that is the finishing the subdivision process and the final planning and plotting process for that. And today I'm requesting $13,000 to finalize out those plans and get the project truly shovel ready, so that once we receive that funding, we're ready to go. So I'll leave it at that, and I'm happy to take questions.
Sure. Got any questions?
I don't have any questions. I think it's a great project, so.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I don't need to ask questions, I don't think. I'm excited that you guys got that one grant. And
Me
hopefully,
too.
are you feeling pretty confident that $450,000 one will come in?
Yeah, I think everything that's been happening at a federal level as far as funding cuts has the language that the foundation has been sharing with me is that they've been reassessing how they're going to respond to everything. So they delayed, it's an invitation only funding, and I was expecting an invite in February, but they pushed it back till this month. We're just on a bit of a delayed schedule than we were anticipating. The good news is that we did get the invite to apply, which means they probably have the funding for it.
We're probably not asking people to go through the work if they're not anticipating funding it, so.
Yeah,
It's good.
but definitely unprecedented times in the nonprofit world right now.
So,
Yeah,
So, I will be sure to let you know as soon as I know.
Sure.
Great. Well, at least you got
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Figure it
that was definitely the hardest grant application I've ever done. It was really competitive, and I'm really excited that we got it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
Willie, how are we looking on lodging tax?
Oh,
Money?
we're okay, we've got the money in there, but, you know, at the same time, we wanna hold back a little bit of, funding to help, the Silverton Family Learning Center as well, so we gotta be.
We have.
That's-
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say, is
both.
the preschool had come to us and that lodging tax money is earmarked for child development and affordable housing.
Yeah.
So I fielded a call from Sarah Mordecai and Hannah Kurzweil, and I told them as well that they should reach out to you to kind of anticipate each other's funding needs for the year.
okay,
That goes through that as well. It wasn't a very big amount that they asked for. It was like up to $6,000 that they asked us for originally, but I know they'll be coming back for more. We also have an affordable housing fund that is looking healthier, right? Hundreds of $1,000.
Well, there's basically little over $100,000 in that, but that is a lodging fund.
Yeah,
We've got our housing fund, which is Anvil Mountain.
which is for Anvil, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there is some, I mean, there's some funding we can tap into that as well if we need to.
yeah.
But most of that is.
I'd rather go through the one that replenishes itself every year instead of the one that just slowly builds, for sure. but just for big projects that you have going through, the county is committed to helping for affordable housing. It's one of the largest, issues that our community faces, so there is more funding than just the lodging tax money, I think is what I was hoping to flush out there.
You're feeling comfortable if we okay that, we got the
Yeah,
money somewhere.
13,000, we can cover 450,000,
We can't.
probably not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that,
At least not
that-
this year.
That actually is, I mean, a question that I do have for you, Dan, is you got the $616,000. How
Mhm.
long
Hmm.
do you have to?
It's
Spend.
contingent on the other 450,000.
Well, I know, but I mean, it doesn't have to be that specific 450,000, it just has to be 450,000.
Right,
But how long do you have to get that 450,000?
until the end of May. Mhm.
So if.
And you've already put the grant in for 450 and you'll know between April 7th and 22nd.
Mhm.
Okay.
And if that grant doesn't come through, the project will go on hold in reassessment,
Yeah,
and we'll have to apply for funding again.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's not like you've got a year or 6 months or any time to see if we can come up with a plan for, I mean, it's either May 1st, it's either there or it's not.
Yeah,
we're not gonna be able to make it happen in a week.
no, I mean, it could be some sort of loan situation. We just need to show proof of funds for $450,000. But yeah, I mean, it's expensive to build up here. I maxed out my request to DOH and we still have a 450,000 gap.
Sure.
So, definitely gonna take a silver bullet to make this project happen. But
Have you guys explored, traditional funding sources through lenders?
mhm,
Yeah. for
yeah,
that?
those are ready to go.
Okay, so
Mhm.
if the 450,000 doesn't come through, then there is an option to,
No,
no, there is not.
Sorry, like our construction senior financing, we have ready to go, but
Okay,
it is also contingent on the $450,000.
okay,
So, and I'm don't be speaking out of school here, if I'm off base, let me know, but basically. If the housing authority or the town or were to borrow that $450,000 gap, then there's no way to repay that other than jacking up the prices
Right,
of the housing units, which
units, yeah.
takes them out of
but
the,
you can't get a grant to pay off a loan, can you?
generally not, no.
Okay, I didn't think so. You wanna, you wanna do the grant. But yeah, if you went and got a loan and then went to one of these agencies and say, hey, we had to get a loan to keep this project going, they're probably not gonna fund it.
yeah,
Because
I think
you
it
got- you
depends
got
on
a
the
loan,
funding
yeah,
source, but
yeah.
I mean. $450,000 is a lot of money, and we've maxed out our state. Now we have to turn to foundations, and foundations aren't typically. With the exception of this one that we're applying to.
Yeah.
Don't really give out $500,000
Right.
to one project.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this has been a risk, this whole project is, can we finalize the capital stack? And,
Can you, just be negative, I guess, if that didn't come through, could you scale the project down to 616,000 and not build as much? Could you continue at least part of the
the
project?
funding is contingent on building,
The whole.
the whole project.
Build out, okay, never mind.
yeah. Yeah, and we have a single family house. That's part of the project, that's technically 140% AMI, but that's really, really close to market rate. And that house is gonna help subsidize the other ones. So we're really trying to pull all the levers that we can to keep it as affordable as possible, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's really expensive to build up here, so. Yeah, we will see, fingers crossed.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that we have other projects in the works, definitely nowhere near as shovel ready as this project is, but we are ready to pivot when and if that
That'd be
time
great.
comes. So,
you know,